break us down, searching for light when the world spins round. But in those cracks, the purpose is born, a new way to live when the old is torn. It's more than a story, it's the rise from the fall, a place where your purpose starts to call. With Dr. Stephenson, wisdom takes flight, turning your pain into hope, into light. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. From heartbreak to strength, the lessons unfold. It's about how we rise, not the stories we've told. Guests with their journeys, sharing their light. In every collision, there's power in sight. It's more than a talk, it's the wisdom we gain through every struggle, through every pain. With conversations that open the door to purpose, to power, to so much more. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. So come as you are, with your scars and fears. This is the place where the truth appears. Turn your trials into stepping stones. Find the strength to claim your throne. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. A collision with purpose, your journey starts here. In every conversation, we'll wipe away fear. Find your purpose, let your life ignite. With Dr. Stephenson, you'll find your light.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to the A Collision with Purpose Movement podcast, life-changing conversations that inspire action. Here we challenge you to reflect deeply and take bold steps towards transformation. I am your host, Dr. Laxley Stephenson. Today, I am joined by a remarkable guest, MS Tamara Gammon. Together, we will cut through the noise, tap into your potential, and inspire action. The time for change is now, so let us get started. Tamara Gammon is a dynamic leader, entrepreneur, and creative visionary whose career spans multiple industries, including logistics, design, philanthropy, and art creation. As a C-level executive and founder of K Alexander Galleries, TGAC Logistics, and Three Dream Designs. Let me back up on that because that's a big piece. Tamara masterfully blends business with purpose. Beyond her entrepreneurial ventures, Tamara is a podcast host, and she is a highly sought after speaker who uses her platform to inspire, educate, and empower others. Her passion for leadership, creativity, and community impact makes her a true force for change. Folks, let us welcome Tamara to the show. Hi, Tamara.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Laxley. I am excited to be here and honored, of course.
And I tell you, I am honored to have you here. And I'm telling you, you're looking so colorful.
Thank you. It's spring. I have to do color. I think I'm embracing the new colors for the season. Orange does something to me. Just being in orange makes me feel alive. I think the sunshine, think about sunshine and having just makes me feel like I'm glowing.
Yeah, you use the right word, glowing. And recently you was in Jamaica, right? You was in the sun.
I was. I'm paying a little bit for it right now. I was in Jamaica for a very special purpose, for a
Mhm.
women's retreat. I
Oh,
went there with our brand ambassador, our brand partner, Mission Villa, and I wanted to be a part of the first retreat that they had for women about watering yourself. And so I went there to reset, to rejuvenate, to paint, to enjoy, and
mm.
create the comeback full of life. And so that's what I did. I locked off. I didn't leave the resort except for one day to go to the beach. And that was it.
And you are looking like you're still there. That's what I'm
I
seeing.
I feel like that. I talk to the women within my group probably once a day. We check in and kind of talk to each other. So there's one person who's still there in Jamaica, and I'm just like, I wish I was still there. So I am living vicariously through her and still feeling as if I'm on the warm, beautiful island of
Mm.
Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Montego Bay, Jamaica. And maybe through our conversation today, you will bring us back to Jamaica. How
I
about
will.
that?
I will.
Also, also. So, Tamara, you have done so much, right? You've had an incredible journey across through education, logistics, creative design, your philanthropy, and art creation. But all of that is all good stuff, right? Now, in your own words, who is Tamara?
She's an ever evolving woman, an ever evolving woman who is now a philanthropist, who is a mother, who is a caregiver, who is a life giver. And life does not just mean giving birth to children, but giving somebody the option to relive and to create a new opportunity. So for me, I'm a change agent. I'm a
Mm,
change maker. And in doing so, it means that everybody I encounter is somebody special. Everybody I encounter is an opportunity for me to tell them who I am and what I do. And there's so
mm.
many different things to what I do, just depending on what space I'm in.
And if I may, and not just what you do, but the value you add to their life as well, because I know that's who you are and that's what you're about, right?
Yes.
It's all
And that's
about.
important that you said that it's me pouring out. I'm always a giver. I'm always pouring into people, but I had to realize, and I said going back to Jamaica, I had to realize I had to pour into myself first before I can
Mhm.
pour into others. So I'm not pouring from an empty vessel.
If I recall, you said so much as you define yourself and describe yourself. I think you used you said something about watering yourself.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that and how important is that?
It is very important. I think it's essential. People think that it's being selfish when you pull yourself away and do things for yourself. It's actually not selfish, it's selfful, right?
Mhm.
And selfless in the sense, less and full. And I know it seems like an oxymoron, but it is. So you have to take the time to nurture your mind, body, and soul. Because if that is not fulfilled, and if you're not fulfilled, then you cannot give of yourselves to others. So
Mhm.
watering yourselves means getting healthier, making healthier options. And it's not just what you put in your mouth, it's what you put in your head, it's what you put in your eyes. All that consumption that happens, we have to be mindful of that. So watering yourself means actually going to the well, and that well could mean different things. It could mean going to the Bible, it could mean going to books, it could mean going to seminars. There's so much more that goes into watering yourself, and that's what for the last 30 days I've done.
Yeah, I mean, you can't drink from an empty cup, right? And you can't give from an empty cup. So it's important to one of the first step in giving is to make sure you're healthy, you're capable, and you have capacity to give, of course.
That
And
capacity. I love that you said capacity. And I will often reach out to you and say, I don't have the capacity to do this today. I don't have the bandwidth to do this today because I have to learn to restrain myself because we're constantly giving and we'll have nothing left.
yeah, we have had those conversations,
Yeah.
and each time I should add it. we have those conversations, I become, after the conversation, I start to look in the mirror, because I then was asking myself, do I have the bandwidth? Do I have capacity? So it's interesting when we have conversations, and it may be one person speaking, but most of what they're saying is applicable to the other person as well.
It is, and it has to be that symbiotic thing, right? And I ask the question, do you have 2 minutes? And I don't just assume, I don't just start talking to you when I do speak to you. Is, do you have the time? Because I want that to be a reflection that somebody has for me. Do you have the time to speak with me today, unless I volunteer to call or whatever it is? It's, do you have the capacity to do so? And I'm having to understand that I have to block off time just to be with Tammy. Tammy needs the time too. So I have to give myself grace and understand that I need to take care of some things. Yesterday, I had 3 different doctor appointments for myself, and then my son had 2. So 5 doctor appointments, but it's very important for us to take the time to get ourselves checked out, get ourselves, our wellness up, and get everything else together, because we worry about everything else that's going on, and we show up for jobs and we show up for different activities that we have, but we're not showing up for ourselves.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you know, who is looking after our strong friends, right? Who's there for our strong friends? And that's such an important thing. You know, I had an experience, and I don't think we're going off topic because this is important stuff. I had an experience. I had a friend of mine, we're out there, we're doing all these things across the world, right? And we're looking out, but we're not looking next door. And here's this friend of ours. He's been reaching out to us, and I say us because not just to me, and not that we're ignoring, but we're not paying attention. And as it turned out, he needed us more than any other person in this world, and we failed him. So the conversation we're having right now, and it starts at home, right? Because charity starts right there. It begins right there. And that's what we're talking about. And it starts with you. You look in the mirror and there are needs, but you must face what those are.
Absolutely.
Because none of us are perfect, right?
We're not. And we have to listen to those cues. So when you talked about your friend was asking and you weren't hearing, is we give cues to our people who are closest to us. And sometimes they're saying, well, you're always strong. You're always going to get through it. So you'll get through this part. I know you will. I'll see you on the other side. But sometimes the other side, that hill that we're going up and we're climbing internally, is something that we expect for people closest to us to see, that we're having this internal struggle. But sometimes we're like, well, I'm not mind reader. You didn't come out and say, I needed you to hug me today. I didn't need you to speak words of affirmation into me today. I needed you to take the garbage out. Simple things like that. Is that sometimes people just expect, well, if you didn't ask, I'm not going to do it. But we have to, as you said, look in the mirror and say, what is it that I would want somebody to do? Or how do I communicate? And understanding that language that is not just a romantic language that we have. We have a language as friends that we should have that communication.
It's all relationships, right? Romantic or whatever you want to call it. But you said another thing, and I want to just make a quick comment about that. You said the other side. I see on the other side. I'll help you when we get there. What if you don't get to the other side?
Tomorrow's not promised.
Got to do it today, right?
Yeah.
Right now.
But passion, that's your passion, your purpose. When I talk about those things about passion and purpose, that's one of the things that I'm looking into, is being solution driven. And it does not just mean with business itself, but my interpersonal relationships that I have with people is being solutions driven. I'm not going to come to you and say, I have this X problem. I'm going to say, I have a YZ solution, right? Here, I want, sometimes speaking it out loud is where that resolution happens, right? We say, oh, I have this problem, but don't just come to me with a problem. Come to me with a solution as well, or a possible solution.
Yep, bring something to the table, not just the problem, right?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, too many of us are living in that place where it's all about the problem and not about the solution. And again, thanks for joining us. If you're watching us or will watch this, replaying this, thanks for joining us on Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Action. And that is what we're doing today with my guests, Tamara Gammon. That's an amazing person, someone that I've been having conversations with. And I knew I had to get her on here so we could have a more in-depth conversation, not because it's about us, but because I know what she's offering here today will add value to your life. So again, thanks for joining us. So, you have we talk about passion and purpose, and that is so important to you. Your career spanned multiple industries, as I said in your bio, right? Leadership is a big part. It's a common theme in everything that you do. What has been the driving force behind your success, and how do you stay aligned with your purpose? Another big piece of you.
I think for me, leadership, this is my 30th year of being in the workforce. I cannot believe I've been working for 30 years already. And so, and I mean really working, clocking in, paying taxes, everything for 30 years. And so when we think about that, leadership is something I learned very early, that managers manage produce, leaders lead people to change. And so with leadership, I think it's best for you to take responsibility for your team. And you cannot understand what they're doing if you've not experienced it. So the best leaders, I think, have been the head cook and the bottle washer. So they know what it's like to wash the bottles, to sterilize it, to fill it, and to close it, and market it, and then sell it. So in all aspects of my life and all the industries I've been in, I've taken responsibility to learn what it is that my employees or my partners in the business are doing. Because you have to feel that weight, right? And so I've found that that has been one of my winning strategies to create an environment where it's a win-win. It has, and I talk about being symbiotic at all times, it has to be a win-win situation. Yes, we take losses within that space, but it has, at the end of the day, it has to be something that is beneficial to both parties.
We talk about leadership, right? And there are all kinds of leaders out there. And we're living in a world now where it's a next generation of leaders who are being successful, right? And collaboration is so important, which you're talking about, collaboration and the willingness to know that you're not necessarily the best person in your organization, even though you're leading it. Because some of your teammates are better at leading in certain initiatives and leading you to success, right? And that's what leadership for me is truly about, is to be a good follower as well, and let others lead you, and not get into your headspace. Because too many times that's what happened, right?
And we're not too old to learn. We don't know all the things. I don't care how many degrees that you have. And no, not to, it's something, we always have something to learn. And we can learn from the youngest person. We can learn from the most uneducated person. There's so many things that we can learn. And the greatest thing we learn is gratitude. As something that we need to learn as leaders, is to be grateful for those small incremental changes that happen, those small wins, and celebrate everything. And I think that's where we need to come back to. We need to come back to basics, where we're saying, I see you, I appreciate you, I honor you, and giving those affirmations, if you will, to employees, because employee retention is very important. So when we look at that, when I'm coaching my corporate clients, because I still work with corporate clients, the training and development for them, I wanted some time for them to take that lens off and sit down at the table, not at the head of the table, but sit down at the table with their employees and get to know each employee and why it is that they're doing what they're doing or how they're doing, but to celebrate those things on a daily basis, because that employee may need that little extra push.
And here again, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about purpose, and we're talking about passion. So we're talking about, Tammy, many people are out there struggling, right, with aligning their passion and their profession. And those are two distinctly different things, right? You are this leader, this business person, this entrepreneur, and then you have those things that you really, truly love to do. What helped you to discover your purpose, and what advice can you give to those who are searching for theirs?
I think my purpose has a duality in itself, because I'm left and right brain. So I remember being in school at Florida International University, and I had one teacher, Professor Freeman, which I'm still in contact with her 30 years later, we're still talking, we're still friends. And I remember the passion that she brought into that classroom as a film and African studies teacher. And she showed up in spaces and showed up for us as students that was unlike any of my other professors. And I said, if I ever became a teacher, if I ever became an educator, I want to be like her. And so when I had the opportunity to go into the classroom, I did just that. I was that teacher that she was and emulated that in itself. So I found my passion in working with students. And now I'm friends, if you will, with my students I taught in middle school now, 25, 26 years ago. And I'm dated myself there too. But when you think about that, that was one of my passions, that I knew that I wanted to teach people to think differently. So as I was in the classroom and I had children who did not speak English, so English was a second language, I found a way to communicate with them initially, and that was through art. And I've always been passionate about art, but this then told me, how can you communicate with people in a different language and for all of us to understand? And art was that vehicle, that was that board for me to say, okay, well, there are things that we can do based on what you're hearing me say, interpret it through art. And that became when I reimagined myself as an artist, because I've always wanted to be an artist. I want to be a hairdresser and an artist, and my mom said, no way. And, you know, I thank her for that. I always give her grief about that now, but I thank her for that, for telling me to go to university, to get my degree, to do the things I did throughout life, so that I can be here on the other side now, combining those two passions. So when we talk about how did I realize those things, was in the classroom, first of all, when I was in the classroom as a student, and then when I became the teacher. Another part of realizing my passion for leadership was when I worked at DeVry University for almost 10 years as a director of admissions for them. And when I realized that my employees were looking up to me because of the teammate I was before I was promoted. And then as a leader, as I led a team of 15 people at DeVry, that the training and development was important. Consistency was important. Having a script was important. Following the guidelines that were there and making sure that we were always on the up and up, because we never want to deviate from that, so we have any improprieties or anything else like that. So I think that taught me to be the leader that I was working at DeVry and getting that skill set, if you will, for the training and development. And I fell in love with that.
You know, as I listen to you talk, and I, of course, reading your bio, I'm saying, what haven't you done? Just in the short time we've been on air, you know, you talk about the different things that you've taken on. What haven't you done? You're really out there making it happen. But I'm looking past you right now. Behind you, I see some pieces of art there. And can you share anything? Because I know they're very visible.
Yes.
So can you talk about them? Tell us a little bit about
the one above me here is actually imported from Uganda. So this one of our artists, Frank Sasana, he's one of our artists from Uganda that we're featuring here in our galleries, in our 10 locations that we currently have right now. So he's been featured. We just took this down from a show, which will be putting into a new show in Jonesboro, which will kick that off for our spring show that we have right now. And the other two pieces are my pieces. Jazz is very important to me. Just music in itself, it helps me calm down, but also jazz is a language in and of itself. Music, before we learned how to read music, we played by ear, and most of our ancestors, and that's why the depiction there of our ancestors playing this music and communicating, because it was also some way for people to describe where they were going, what they were going through, and also to help people escape, because through music they knew the tenor, the bass, different things like that. With music, the interpretation was very different. And so I have that. And then I have a juxtaposition of my abstract artwork where I like to play around with figures within figures. And so the colors itself, orange and the greens, those very muted earth tones, it says something to people. And it allows them to see a different aspect of me. So I'm an abstract expressionist painter. So I paint any and everything whenever I feel like I create an composition.
Well, you know, having watched you see how you dress, you're an art piece yourself. And the way you carry yourself, your hats and everything about you.
I'm usually in a hat. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
usually in a hat.
I'm surprised you didn't wear your hat today. And I'm sure it's not that far away from you if you decided to put one on.
It is very close to me, but we're not going to put a hat on today. And that's the thing. People always expect, and that's why I show up in spaces so that it becomes unexpected.
Unexpected.
So today they're gonna be like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And it's like, "Yeah, I wanted for today the conversations that we're having, that we're constantly evolving. Every time you think you know what I'm going to do, no,
Boom.
don't ever think you know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do and what's going on, because I want to make sure that there's always that aha moment that happens with that experience." So,
well, not seeing you in a hat today is an aha moment because I'm so used to seeing you in one. But that's, you know, like you say, you come in different styles, different approaches, different ways. And you know, you talk about communication early, and that sometimes with languages there are barriers, right? There are barriers. However, with art and music, that's a way to break it down. And that was one of the driving force behind you in, you know, getting into art and so forth. So that's big stuff right there, because you know, in the times that we're living in, where it's so even when you speak the same language, it is so difficult to understand each other. So we're not listening.
Effective communication is a lost art.
Right.
And we have to meet people where they are. So I often ask people, how do they learn? So when I'm talking with my clients, when I'm talking with the CEO or I'm talking with the janitor, how do you learn best? Is it an auditory, a visual? What is this that you need? Is it written communication? So sometimes when I can't find, when somebody doesn't know, I try and do all three to see which they respond best to. And that for me gives me an opportunity to say to them, well, I've seen that you've responded best to my written communication. Is that the best way for us to communicate? I've seen that when I've spoken to you and then sent a few bullets that you retain information better. Am I correct in my assessment? So when we open and ask those questions, I think we get the opportunity to best help people to get to better communication, but they have to be open to it as well. Because sometimes people are like, I'm good. I hear what you're saying, but are you listening?
And you know, that's an art in itself, listening. Right? Because we hear things, but are we listening? It's actively listening. You know, I want to play a video clip because I know one of the things that you do so well is you do it right on the spot in real time. So I'm going to play a clip, and we'll stay on set while we play it, okay? And then after I play it, then we can talk about it, okay?
Will do.
Wow, and just like that,
Just like
have a complete piece. What's going on there? Because all that, you know, brush mark, everything all over the place. You know, what's going on there? Can you share with us?
So I can say I now travel all over the world to do this. Initially, it was just in the States, but now as we branch out to Montego Bay, I live paint in front of sometimes 5 people to 500 to 5,000 people. Just depend. So I've mastered the art of painting quickly and making sure that we have something that can be seen within a 30-minute to a 45-minute span. This allows me to have a captive audience, number one. Number two, to be able to present artwork to somebody on the spot. So as you can see, Stacey Abrams was a recipient of that painting. That was a silhouette of her. She's a Spelman grad. So I knew blue was very important, but also the Democratic Party, because we were in the middle of elections at the time. But this was symbolic and something that was specifically for her, because as a Spelman graduate and a true advocate for what she does, she embodied that. So it was the curl of her hair, the poise. I've never seen her in a dress, but this was me imagining her in a ball gown like that. Like that. But it also had multiple layers. So as she is a talk show host, she's an activist, she's an author, And when we talk about her being an author, and I love this, it talks about rogue justice. So again, the blues that we have here, and then while justice sleeps. When we talk about these different things and the layers that she brings into who she is as an African American woman here in Georgia, what she stands for, I want to capture that on canvas. And so I did have the opportunity to meet with her and talk with her on that day when she came down to Be Mary, which is one of our locations that we have for K. Alexander Galleries. And she was a part of it. And we got to be a part of history on that day. And so I just love what I do.
You was certainly a part of history, just in her presence and doing what you did, painting, that's amazing. Because she is one powerful woman.
She is.
Stands for something, and she lived that something.
She is so humble. I don't understand the humility that she embraces, that she expresses, just who she is. Her voice, even though she commands respect, is also a very compassionate voice. When I spoke to her off screen and everything else, the words that she shared with me, the words she has written to me since, that painting is now hanging in her home. I know where it's hanging in her home. I won't say where it is. But we've had some follow-up communication since, and I truly appreciate moments like that my art has allowed me to meet leaders of this world. The Honorable Andrew Young as well has my paintings, and the Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, also has artwork of mine. And it's not to name drop, it's to say that your dreams can be the vehicle that takes you to the next destination.
There's a saying that failure, there's no alibi for failure, and success requires no explanation. It's all about the work that you're doing. So I don't think it's name dropping or anything. It's what you've done. It's your work.
It's my body of work.
It's your work. All right. And you don't necessarily talk about it because you want to talk about you. Anytime you can share success stories, I think it can inspire others, motivate others to do it. So that's why we must big up those who are out there doing the work. It's very important that we do that. It's not personal gratification. It's about you can do it too.
And I think that you just said it. I want people to look at me. I want that little girl that I went to Women's High School for Girls. Marcia Dunn was my art teacher. And I want little girls to go to school, to realize a dream, to have a dream, and to one day, 20 years later, 30 years later, to say, I accomplished that thing that I put down that I wanted to do. It says, write the vision and make it plain. I've written that so many times on vision boards, in my diaries, different things that I wanted to paint live, that I wanted to give people. I didn't know who those people were at the time, but when you have a head of a country having your artwork, it says something. And I truly appreciate those experiences. And civil rights leaders, look at that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Can we take a quick break? And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about business, creativity, and community impact, because that's a big piece of your work. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll talk some more about that. Again, you're watching Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Action. And today we're inspiring actions with Tamara Gammon, and she's making it happen. So let's take a quick break and come back.
I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I wake up in the morning and I praise the Lord. I thank Him for His protection, and I walk in His steps, declaring that today's provision is set up for me. I love God and I love my friends. Yeah, I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid. I put on my armor and I read His word, blessing come out of my mouth, cause I know to whom I belong. I am bold for Christ, Holy Spirit dwelling within me, carrying His presence wherever He sends me. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. Loving others as He told me to pray, for healing, miracles to see, knowing my identity in Christ, He is in me. I am a bold kid, He loves me, standing firm on His word, proclaiming everything I heard, not afraid because He is with me. Be bold, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. Oh, put on my armor. And I write this word blessing come out of my mouth. Because I know to whom I belong. I am bold for Christ. Holy Spirit dwelling within me. Carrying his presence wherever he sends me. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid.
Right, welcome back. Welcome back to Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Actions. All right, my guest is Tamara Gammon. Tamara, how about that bold kid stuff? You know, that's actually my daughter's, their product line.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about being bold, right?
Absolutely. And you have to be bold. In this day and age, you have to stand out. You have to be bold about your thoughts and actions and just the words that we communicate with people and show up in spaces when people don't expect you to be there.
And you are a bold one.
I try to be, Dr. Lex. I try to be.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. So, all right, let's get back to it. You know, you are a C-level executive, you're a business owner. Now, in any kind of business, the bottom line, you know, profitability is a big deal, right?
Yes.
But sometimes because we are so into our work or giving back, you know, approach tendencies, profitability is a question. So how do you balance that profitability with your purpose?
That's a very important question. That's a question that Harlan and I, who's my business partner with K. Alexander, we talk about, is that we're doing these good works. And as you jokingly say, I always leave something when I go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important. But it's also important to charge your worth, to know what you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do talks with Tamara, which is one of the biggest things that I do with 3 Dream Designs, and with talk with Tamara is actually something, it's a coin phrase. I go into spaces and I talk about leadership, operations management, human resources, but I paint while I'm doing it. So I've done this to coin, not only to coin the phrase, but to have a different outlook on a lunch and learn. And I think that has been the most profitable part of our business, actually, is being able to combine that, because organizations don't have the bandwidth to have this talk. I'm coming from it from a true lived experience, a lot of things with operations, but also bringing in something that's very different from initiative of wellness for the employees. So balancing profitability in itself is asking for and demanding what you're worth. And if somebody says, I can't afford it, then I said, well, let me know when you can. Not, I won't try and help them, but I have to feed my family. I have a business to run. So at the end of the day, when I said to you, I can't do this for free, I can't donate my time, and I donate a lot. And people within the community will know I donate and I contribute my time and effectiveness. But when an organization is making money from me being there, then I have to charge my worth. So that's been a big thing for me, and having to say, am I worth it? Because sometimes you have the imposter syndrome. It's like when you have a rate and you're saying it to the client, it's like, oh, did I over? No, you didn't. Because sometimes I'm undercharging people because I have a relationship or a friendship, but they'll go out and buy a Louis Vuitton for $5,000. So when we look at that, it's what are our priorities?
Well, you know, families and friends should support your initiatives, your business. You know, you can't do this without income, right?
Exactly.
You can't do it without income. And that's a part, again, of watering yourself, right? Making sure you're in a position, you're building capacity so you can do more of the giving back. And if they're not supporting, if those closest to you are not supporting you, then who will?
And that's one of the things that we have to do. But it's very sad that I could do a ghost project, and I've done ghost projects, and I'll say not too much about that. But people will buy from the ghost project that I will do instead of supporting me directly. And so sometimes I'm okay. I go under certain umbrellas and just doing different things. My picture doesn't have to appear. I tell people, you know, even though I think I'm beautiful, it's not to be conceited, but I don't need to be on everything. I don't need to show up on different spaces. I am going to make my work speak for itself. So sometimes
Amen.
you see my picture in an event that I'm very much a part of, and that's okay.
Amen.
Mhm.
Right? Let your work speak for itself, and it's speaking volume, right? All right. I'm going to play another video. Recently a Collision with Purpose, we had our conference, colloquium. Sometimes I struggle with that word. Donna Thompson came up with that word. That's one of her favorite things.
Mhm.
We had our colloquium, Daily Insights, Unveil Your Audience to Find Purpose. And we made a good decision by honoring you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Excellent decision. So I'm going to play the video of you receiving and your response to the honor that we did. So let me play that video, and then we can talk a little bit about that. Okay.
Will be Miss Tamara Gammon, and her award will be presented to her by Mrs. Sharon Thompson. Miss Tamara Gammon, an internationally renowned artist, the CEO of Three Dreams Designs LLC, was born in Jamaica. She is a self-taught, multidisciplinary artist whose work is characterized by vibrant colors and explores themes of women and abstract expressionism. Ms. Gammon draws inspiration from her Caribbean roots. Her works are rendered in watercolors, oil, acrylic, pastels, and ink on canvas. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Tamara Gammon.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Collision with Purpose, I present to you with the Community Keystone Award for your service to humanity. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My co-host, Sharon, thank you so much. This is dedicated to my son, Khalid Alexander, which I have named my gallery after. I'm sorry, there's feedback. Named a gallery after. When we talk about making history, as Black women, we represent 1% as a gallerist. So they're 1% of all the gallerists in the entire world are Black women. So I salute as I create history today. Thank you. My son, Khalid Alexander, came into this world at 2 pounds, 3 ounces, born 6 months during my pregnancy. And when we talk about Collision with Purpose, we knew that he was destined for greatness. Though he has cerebral palsy, is hearing impaired, and has chronic lung disease, he is a fighter. And he lived when they said he would not live more than 2 days, more than 2 weeks. And if he did live to see 2 years, he'd never walk, he'd never talk. He would not survive and not thrive. However, today, Khalid Alexander is 20 years old, graduated from high school on time with his twin brother. And when we continue to look at things from the lens of hope, heights of great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight. And they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. One of the things I think about when I work in a community with maternal health is how important it is for us to listen to that voice inside of us as mothers. As women, we are sometimes subject to people not listening and not understanding and not caring for us, because as we care for others. So today I implore you to listen to that voice inside of you. With Sharon, we've been able to communicate on our podcast with Speak Harmony, and we talk about the disadvantage of being women here, especially in Gwinnett County, as we talk about the displacement, the unhoused women, the women who are being sex trafficked. We have to be vigilant in what we do and do it with a purpose. So as I go out into the community, I not only paint what is going on, and as an artist and a designer, I use it as my voice. And I try and implore our community to look out for each other. As we love each other and we show up, we need to show up in spaces and be loud and proud. Thank you all so much, and this is dedicated to K. Alexander. Thank you.
A little bit on the touchy side there. Quite touching.
It was like me. Mm, 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 mm.
Deep.
Yes. So, as I said on that, K. Alexander was born to Lee Alexander, my son. We heard the story there, but he is so resilient. And I think a lot of my resilience, it came when I became a mother.
Mhm.
And I think being able to overcome those health challenges that he went through, that I went through. I had what's called hyperemesis gravidarum, which I threw up my entire pregnancy. And because I was pregnant with twins, my womb was not able to carry these children to term. And so at 6 months, at 26 weeks and 4 days, I gave birth to twin boys. And they were born at 2 pounds and 2 pounds, 3 ounces. Kali is the 2 pounds, 3 ounces. He's twin B. Kimari is twin A. And so when we talk about 4 minutes making a difference in somebody's life, I know that in reality. So where Kimari came out and he has no physical disabilities, no mental challenges or anything else, 4 minutes of Khalid being in the womb and being held back made a difference. And so as a mother, as a teacher, as an advocate, I had to speak up so many times and challenge the health community, challenge the questions that were being posed, challenge the results that were given to me, that I'm not accepting that. There has to be something different. And so I have been an advocate for maternal health for children with disabilities for 21 years now. And that has been one of my driving forces of why I get up every morning.
Mhm. Now we're talking about your why.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
My
And,
why.
and K. Alexander Galleries. Now let's talk some more about this. Is big. This is a big, big thing for you, right? And you gave us, you gave it away what the K is all about.
Mm-hmm.
You gave it away. You gave it away. Now, what impact do you hope to make in the art world through K. Alexander Galleries? And why do you believe that art is such a powerful cultural tool, to persevere, for perseverance and empowerment, preservation and empowerment
I
of the
think
culture?
the mark that I hope to make, and I have made so far, last year we curated 20 different shows, 20 different art shows last year in different spaces. And for me, that was a mark in itself, that a gallery, a mobile gallery, because we are a mobile gallery, we were able to bring artwork to communities that would never been able to see this caliber of artwork unless they went to New York into a major gallery, to Sotheby's or somewhere like that, or they went into the city. We are doing this in Gwinnett County, in Clayton County, in DeKalb County. We are showing up again in spaces that people didn't expect. The no's that we got individually, now where people are asking us, can you come and install artwork? Can you come and do these different things? So my hope with the 21 artists that we currently have under our umbrella is to expand this, not just for a quantity of 50 artists, but quality of work from across the globe. And we've started that initiative where we have a Kenyan artist who will be here on the 27th of March. We will be with him at a Black Expo that will happen in College Park. But we were also installing artwork, as we said, it's from Uganda above my head. We have Romaine from Kingston, Jamaica.
That's my friend.
That's your friend. Exactly. So I have some new pieces of hers that we unveiled at the historic courthouse for Black history and led into women's history. We've just transitioned that artwork, but we will be carrying this down to Clayton County. So as we go, we don't always hit the same artwork. It varies. We have over 150 pieces currently in our inventory that we have different artists from around the world currently and different cities. So we have from Houston, Texas to Maryland, different places. But biggest why for K. Alexander is to help artists who could not get into or find it hard to get into traditional galleries to have an opportunity to have a showcase, have an independent exhibition that they can have. Having a solo exhibition is a big thing. And we give them the opportunity to do so if they have the body of work, because you still have to have the body of work. You still have to have a certain level of skill to be able to produce the work, because we can't showcase only 2 pieces for a solo show. We need at least 20 pieces for that solo show so we can make sure that we have things available.
Wow. And just to acknowledge a couple of comments here, we have Ruth saying amazing. We have Yolanda Horn Payne saying strong Y, my sister.
Thank you.
And I am so proud of you, K. Alexander Galleries. And proud of you, I'm sure they're talking about you, Tammy.
Thank you. I'm glad that I commented. So Yolanda and I have something coming up, and this when we talk about partnerships and understanding, collaboration. So that's one of the things I was going to talk about later, but I'm going to bring her up. So she does CMOS, talking about K. Alexander. When Khalid was sick and going through different things with his health and his lungs, she would deliver CMOS and pineapple and ginger drink to us and lavender. So she and I have partnered to do Doctors, Brushes, and Brunch coming up on May 4th, when we're talking about health, talking about wellness, and why it's important to incorporate art with health and wellness. And so she will have that CMOS, but we'll also have people who are in the medical spaces being able to talk about the nutritional value, not just about CMOS, but about overall health and how do we improve our health. And through that, art therapy is a big part of that wellness that we will talk about as well.
So much to talk about, right?
It's a lot of stuff.
So much to talk about.
Ongoing. It's like,
so much. It's so much to cover. You know, philanthropy is an important part of your work. And I know at our colloquium, you did donate a piece to us, to A Collision with Purpose. And that the whole idea there was for us to raffle it off and then use the proceeds for scholarship
yes.
for a student somewhere. Somewhere. So we're putting that together. Of course, I'm going to reach out to you to guide us through that process.
Absolutely.
That's your baby. And then we will do it.
About that, you know, we have Daily Insights Unveiled, and this was a very poignant book for us to do. And we talk about the journey and everything else. And I know that you're going to be doing some give backs where this is concerned, and it'll be a $5 donation for all of the books that are sold here to donate to a special project as well in Kenya. So as we do this and we're getting donations coming in, I know you have a service project that's coming up in June that we need some support for as well. I'm hoping to join that. I'm trying to see if my schedule will permit and talking about philanthropy, but it's very important that we understand that we need to give back to organizations and to people and to make sure that we can move the needle forward where it talks about helping people mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think that's what Collision to Purpose has been doing. And more importantly, this book will do.
Absolutely. And I'll play a clip because, yes, we're going to Kenya, June 6th through the 20th. And it's our second visit to Kenya. Second visit. And we'll do more, of course, because we did open an office in Kenya, A Collision with Purpose Africa Limited. And why did we do that? It's because there's a need. Everything is done because of the need, not necessarily what we want to do, because the need exists. And wherever there's a need, we ought to show up, right? Which is what you do.
Exactly.
Right. So I'll play this quick thing here. And in fact, I'm going to speed it up to what it's really about. Right there. Right there is what it's about. It's about A Collision with Purpose 2025 Kenya Outreach Program. And what we intend to do while we're in Kenya, that is A Collision with Purpose and friends, what we intend to do is we plan to build 2 toilets in 2 different schools. Pit toilets. They use pit toilets in the schools over there. We're going to do some drives in schools where sanitary drives, sanitary pads, those type of things. And we're bringing clothes with us. We've had friends who donated a large amount of clothes, lots of clothes that we need to bring over there. And, just to support where we can and to make a difference. So if you have it within you and you're watching us on this show right now or later during the replay season, and you would like to make a donation, you can Zelle your donation to A Collision with Purpose at gmail.com, and I will post that as well in the caption. Now, what I will tell you, every single dollar or whatever you donate will go towards the initiative that it's intended for. So we won't use your money to do anything but that. So if we say we're going to give a scholarship to a student, that's what the money will be used for. If it's to contribute towards building one of these toilets, then that's what it'll be used for. And if you know anything about Kenya, in the rural areas, toilets in these schools are a big deal. It's huge. So that's what this is about. So thanks for sharing the book, Daily Insights Unveiled. And if for no other reason you want to get that book, because in that book you will find, on any page you turn to, you'll find something in there for you. All right?
I agree.
So, appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you. And you talk about something that's very important, and I'm glad you touched on it. Period poverty is very important in these third world countries, in other countries. Here in the US, period poverty is very real. And so we need to address those things and making sure that we're helping girls, because with that comes them not being able to go to school if they don't have sanitary pads. They can't go to school. They can't sit down. They can't go to work. So all this flows into something that happens, that we don't have an equal playing field. Because if girls can't go to school and they're missing school for 7 days out of every month, when you look at that from an annual scale, and then we think about the 10 to 12 years that they're in school for, we think about these different things. As they go to college, we're not just talking about middle school, what we call middle school, or primary school, starting from primary school for them into secondary, but when they go to tertiary school, if they don't have pads, then they can't learn. So we need to understand how this impacts the overall generation that we currently have. And in 2025, we should not be having a conversation about period poverty, but we are.
We should not, but we are having the conversation. Another thing as well is, okay, you can't go to school because if you can't pay to go to school because there's no money, right? Or you can't put food on your table. What's going to happen to that young girl staying at home?
You're going to be married off early, and there are different things that are going to happen. And so we don't want...
Maybe if they were married off early, it's a good option, but all these kids having kids.
And that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what
the cycle continues. And that's one of the things that we talk about when I do the philanthropy. It's just about women and understanding the importance of having these conversations, these hard conversations, because a trickle down effect that happens, right? So we see them having to make a choice whether to eat, to have a pad, for education, then they get married early, and the cycle continues, and then they have children that we're continuing this. And then sometimes they get love bombed by the wrong person, and then there's sex trafficking that happens, and it happens in all countries. And I want to bring awareness to that as well, that we have to be on the lookout. We have to be our sister's keeper as older women. We have to be there for our girls and show up for, and even as older women, we ourselves can be sex trafficked. I spoke to somebody yesterday and they were just telling me a story. So we have to make sure that we are very vigilant about what is going on.
Absolutely. Another big piece of our work in Kenya is cancer. Most of us, we've been touched by cancer, right? Whether it's a friend, a family member, or something, we've lost someone. And the Collision with Purpose, we're working with the Elizabeth Sitawa community-based organization, which is all about, just having a better understanding and, where cancer awareness is concerned, and to raise monies for cancer patients and their family members.
Yes.
And their family members. So that's something big that's on our agenda when we go to Kenya. In fact, today we announced a fundraising drive within Kenya itself to raise money. So I'm one who believe that you need to raise money where you're going to do the work as well. We have to hold people accountable and responsible. So it's good and well that we're asking friends here in the United States to make a donation, and I'm from elsewhere. But wherever you're doing the work, there's some responsibility there as well for people to step up, show up, and deliver. So we're going to be reaching out to our friends in Kenya to contribute to the initiative, the Collision with Purpose initiative, and to donate specifically to the Elizabeth Sitawa community-based organization. So we'd love to have you on that.
I am trying my Yes, I'm scheduled for a 5K. One of the reasons why my father is a heart transplant recipient, and so an organ donation drive is going on. A 5K is going on that day that we're supposed to be leaving. So that's one of the things why I'm not. But when we talk about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness, my stepmother is a breast cancer survivor. And so breast cancer is very important, near and dear to me. I am a cancer survivor. I'm a cervical cancer survivor as well. So yesterday, one of the wellness things I did do was to make sure that I am healthy. I had my mammogram done yesterday, had my cervical check, even though I no longer have a cervix. And I'm explaining this not for TMI, but to tell people that they still need to get checked. Even after you've gone through everything, you need to go back and you have to have those annual checks, because early detection is the key. So I've partnered with I Will Survive, which is a breast cancer awareness organization here too, that helps victims of breast cancer to be able to keep their housing, to pay for treatment, to get mammograms and different things like that. I partner with Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, talking about awareness of these different things as well, about ovarian cancer, about cervical and breast cancer. So it's very important for us as women to get our screening, and men too. But majority of the people who have breast cancer, and of course the other female reproductive organ of cancers, we have to be aware, and we have to have the conversation, and we have to stop putting off going to get those health checks, because early detection, and that's what saved my life, was that I was getting my annuals. And so when we look at that, it's very important for us to show up and be our sister's keeper.
Wow. Early detection is so important. So important. And you can only experience that early detection if you're out there doing what you're supposed to do. Go get checked, is what I'm hearing you saying. So we can't overemphasize the importance of schedule those exams and show up.
And go. And
go.
that's it.
Yeah. Not just schedule it.
Go. Mine was due in January and I put it off. I was like, oh, this was going on. We had snowstorm. We had all these different things. It's go, because you just never know what can happen. And again, I'm grateful my stepmother had early detection, because my dad forced her to go. We talked about this on Monday, she and I, and he forced her to go to the doctor. And that's how she was able to determine and get the diagnosis of breast cancer awareness. I definitely want to come to Kenya because of these reasons, because these are near and dear to my heart, and understanding that we have to advocate.
So Tammy, let me ask you a question, because you touched on something. One of the reasons why so many individuals might not make their appointments, right? They may schedule it because of work-life balance, right? They're so busy doing everything, so much going on, right? So many entrepreneurs, in my experience, they struggle with burnout and maintaining work-life balance. How do you stay grounded and still, and be mentally strong while managing all these different things you do? Because you do quite a few things now. You're busy.
I have to take a breath just now. I block my calendar. I block off my calendar to say that these are the days that I'm not available, and I'm on do not disturb. And sometimes my phone is on do not disturb. And I make sure that I allocate time to do the things that I want to do and I need to do. I allocate time for resting. Now, I've realized, and especially as a cancer survivor, having gone through everything else, and we talked about this earlier in the year, I had the flu for 21 days, and that's a part of why my January appointments got pushed out. I had 21 days of the flu because I burnt myself out so much doing those 20 creations in 2024. I said, 2025, I choose me. I choose me physically, mentally, emotionally. I choose me. And I have to continue to choose me in order for this business to thrive, for us to be successful, for me to help others be successful. And that means that my health came first. That yesterday with those 3 appointments I had to do, I had to make sure that my health came first. And it ran over into time. I was not even able to go on our podcast last night because I was still doing appointments so late with my son, because I had to make sure he was a priority too. So, I apologize for not being on my show last night, but I had to choose it, inevitable.
Mm. Talking about your show, you're a people want you to give their keynote speech. They're looking for you everywhere. Plus, you're in the podcast business. You have your own show as well. Talk about your speaking engagements, and then also touch a little bit on your podcast show for us.
Sure. So I am the keynote speaker for a couple of events coming up. In May, I've done several in 2024. So I'm working with 300 different realtors. I'll have a keynote speech on May 31st in the afternoon. I know.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, but my keynote speaking is talking to people about where they are. I'm meeting them where they are and sharing my story and the journey. My $2.30 journey, where when I sent out my pieces to Tabitha Brown, how it changed my life, and is relying on faith and fate as well. But faith of a mustard seed is very important. So when I talk about my keynote speak, it's talking about my lived experiences and lived life and interjecting that with my art. So yes, I've had a few engagements that I have coming up. I will be, as I said, on May 4th, we launch our Brunch and Brushes series, talking about health and wellness. We'll go into this again on the 10th in Byron, Georgia, with Robert's Vineyard, where we will be there as we launch and do so much more. But there's a lot coming, so you have to stay tuned. Of course, stay tuned to Speak Harmony, where I co-host that, and the co-host on the show where Sharon Thompson is the host, and I come in and I talk about meeting of the minds and talking about entrepreneurs and collaborating with them and people I'm collaborating with and hope to collaborate. We bring on these different shows and we talk about business. We talk about how can we work together and best practices, and we just have fun.
Let's have fun. All right. I'm going to play another clip and I want you to talk to us about it. All right. You can talk as it's playing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is about breast cancer awareness. So when we talk about women being in treatment and different things like that, health and wellness. So this is our newest collection that we will be reposting. This is actually was done 5 years ago, but we're reigniting this to earn money to help I Will Survive and A Collision with Purpose, so we can work to raise funds to help women get a mammogram, help women be able to survive during the treatment that happens. So when we talk about this, 15% of our proceeds will go to the organizations. And then, of course, Mission Villa is one of our brand partners that we have, which is in Montego Bay, Jamaica, where they have the Watering Wellness Retreat, Watering Yourself retreat that happens. That will be in the end of May as well. And that is where 6 women will come together about health, physical wellness, mental wellness, and a time for them to reignite that passion, that purpose, and also be able to, as a collective, talk about what it is that they want for themselves. So I was able to be there, as I said, a couple weeks ago, I was there, and this is my journal that I have from it, which is very important. And we talk about vision boards, and we will do a few things. I'm not going to give away what happens there, but I will say that to say I was able to be intentional about what it is that I wanted for the second quarter. Some of the things have already happened now in the first quarter. But when we talk about that, we talk about how do we take those steps to be closer to God, take those steps to be closer to our purpose. And one of my other favorite things that I'm doing now is Jaquel Tucker, one of my friends, she did a power prayer and praise, which is also a part of the journey that I'm taking that came from that wellness. So Jaquel has done this weekly devotional, a 52-week devotional that I'm working on as well. So I'm very busy reading all my books. But it's
talking about work-life balance here.
And I have to read more. I have to go with the daily insights unveiled with the power of prayer and praise. Is I needed these things to make me be a better leader, a better communicator, a better overall mother in itself. Because as whatever we consume, right? We talk about consumption, consuming things, consumption is not just what you put in your mouth, right? It's what you put in your mind, and that wellness that happens too.
Absolutely. What flow through you stay in you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you must be so careful. Make sure whatever is entering into your system, because they say your subconscious mind is true. It's real,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not very forgiving.
No.
If it flows, if it enter, then it stays. At least
Mm-hmm.
part of it stays there. Tommy, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do our last segment about leadership, growth, and legacy. All right. So let's take a quick break, and I'm going to play a video, and I would like you to, if I can find that video. This is going to be a video about becoming iron. I'm going to play a quick piece of it, and then because much of you is about iron, so I'm going to play a quick piece of it. All right.
All right.
A trail is written of hearts that strive. Through fire and flame, they find their way. Becoming iron where courage holds sway. Becoming iron, with hearts forged in fire. Tales of courage and conviction rising even higher. Displaying strength in the fiercest fight. Becoming iron, shining in the night. Faces the darkest night. The empowered man fights with all his might. The resilient man is unwavering and strong. The inspired man knows where he belongs. Together they rise, conquering fears. Becoming iron through trials and fears. Becoming iron with hearts forged in fire. Tales of courage and conviction rising even higher. Displaying strength in the fiercest fight. Becoming iron, shining in the night.
All right, welcome back. I had to cut that short because
We're going.
someone sent me a comment that they're not used to seeing me outside of my A Collision with Purpose gears.
Tell me we dressed up fancy today.
So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, anyway, welcome back to Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Action. And today we're inspiring action with none other than Miss Tamara Gammon. Now, we've been talking about all kinds of stuff. We're talking about health, purpose, passion, career, all kinds of things that we all need to go into and dive into and not be afraid to talk about. But now I think we should talk a little bit about leadership. Well, let's figure out leadership with growth and legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with mentorship, because you've mentored many. What are some of the key lessons that you have learned that shaped you into who you are today?
Be open to learn. That's the first thing. We talked about that earlier. You don't know everything else. So even though you have been a subject matter expert for 15 years, there's always room for growth. There's always room for understanding and learning something new. Be pliable. Be flexible in where you are with time. Not that you're not showing up on time, but give yourself grace too. So we'll talk about those different things. So on Wednesdays, which is normally my Women's Wednesdays, when I help entrepreneurs break into different spaces from a creative standpoint, people who want to be designers and different things like that. So I take time to lead them through an experience, if you will, of transforming their artwork into 50 products. I sometimes start with 5 products because it may be overwhelming for some people to go into 50 products. But I give that feedback and help people to go through that. So the biggest thing for me is being open to change. That's my biggest word I can say when you talk about mentoring, is tell people to be open to change.
We had a guest on Bridging Generation Voices of Men, Dr. Meriwether. And he said he's a big time mentor, right? And he said one of the things that guide him as he go about mentoring, he's not judgmental. That person, no matter what is going on in their situation, he never personalize it to them. He knows there's something causing that to happen. And so he's never judgmental. And because once you start to become judgmental, then it's no longer about solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reinforcing the problem
Yes.
and not understanding causation and those type of things. Because that
Young,
blinds you, when you're judgmental, it blinds you, don't it?
these young people said we listen and we don't judge,
Yeah.
right? We have to listen and not be in that personal space.
Mm-hmm.
We have to say, what if it was the shoe was on the other foot? What if it was me? How would I receive what is being said? And sometimes when I give feedback to clients, and sometimes I have to be very direct in the feedback I give, but I'm also understanding that there's a person who may be going through something on the other side of the screen. But it would behoove me to be honest, though. Honesty is very important for me to be honest with that person, to say, hey, I don't think that you're doing this correctly. However, I feel that if we did X, this could possibly change. So you have to, again, always having a solution, not just saying, oh, we have a problem. So it's been solution driven as well.
Solution driven, right? And, throughout your life, I'm sure you've had people who mentor you. You didn't just show up here today and as who you are. I would like for you to get as close as you can get to the camera and look at and talk to that person. You can call their name, who you want to give credit to for what they have done in your life.
I think for me, and it goes back to this book from Jaquel Tucker. Jaquel implores, is an example of what it means about somebody who is a kingdom divine powered entrepreneur. She is an entrepreneur through and through, but she's an advocate for Jamaica. She runs the Jamaica Project, and she's an advocate for children and education. So when I see Jaquel show up in spaces or she calls me, I am there because I know that whatever it is that she's doing, that is kingdom purpose. I know that whatever she's doing, she's giving from her heart and her soul. And she's helping entrepreneurs like me. And sometimes I've been the person coming in to have the speech for things that she's done, but the little nuggets that she gives me. So Jaquel, I thank you for always being there for me and believing in me for what I do.
Wow.
But there are two people in my life, I will say that. And I'm going to leave the second one for another time. But for right now, I'm going to say, Jaquel, that I thank her for being an example, and her husband, Sean, as well, because it's not just about it's the love that they have for each other as well, that I really, truly.
All right. So we want to big her up and her husband, Jaquel. Did I get the name right?
Yes, Jaquel Tucker.
All right. Let's big them up for the role they played in your life.
Yeah.
And because of that, look at the impact, what you're doing. All right. So that's good stuff there. All right. Let's talk a little bit now. I want you to give some advice. I want you to challenge anyone who will be listening to this broadcast today or on another day. Right. So what is one challenge or action step you want to leave with them?
Take the risk. Take the risk for something that you've always wanted to do. Failure is one step in success. It's not the end of success. It's not the end of the project. That project that you want to work on, that book, that product, that design, whatever it is, take the risk today. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen?
Just do it.
Do it.
Just like that.
Take the risk.
Just do it. Whether you're ready or not. Do it.
Whether ready or not. Because you can paint the plane while it's flying, right? But you got to get the plane off the ground first.
It ain't going nowhere.
And see that everything else up after.
If it don't take off, it ain't going nowhere.
It won't go anywhere. Nobody else will see it. It won't be in the sky for somebody to see it. The next plane won't pass and see it. The next person won't pass and see it. It has to go up. So you've done all the thinking. You've put it all down on paper. You've run through all the scenarios. What are you waiting for? Do it.
Just do it. Just like that. That is it. All right. So is there anything else you'd like to share tonight that you didn't get an opportunity to talk about? This is a great time to do so.
I would share that delay doesn't mean denied. Okay. A no today doesn't mean a no tomorrow. Be consistent in whatever it is that you are doing show up for yourself and show up in spaces that people didn't expect. Like you said, I'm not wearing my hat today, and neither are you wearing your collision with purpose. So people always expect us to look a certain way. My hair is always curly. I straightened up my hair today. Is that the shock and awe? Go ahead and shock them. Go ahead and show up and allow people to stop thinking that they know everything about you. It's okay. It's
All
okay.
right. I like that. I like that. Now, this segment here I call quick fire questions, right? I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I just want you to put it out there. There's no wrong answer. What is one book, podcast, or speech that changed your perspective on leadership or success?
7 Habits, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders.
So make you rehearse for that one, man. You practice for that question.
Because I use it. I use it every time I'm coaching with my clients. I use it.
All right, good answer. Great answer. If you had 60 seconds to give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would tell her I'm proud of her. Keep going. Whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. Again, take the risk. I would tell her then, because there were times when I was so afraid of leaving corporate. I was so afraid of leaving the security of life. And my younger self wanted to hear that. She said, take the risk and do what it is that you wanted to do. My younger self is be brave. Be brave enough to speak of the unspoken, to heal, and love yourself.
That's a big piece. That's a big one. Love yourself. It's a great, we talk about love. A great place to understand love is to learn. Can you really love someone if you don't love yourself? That's really the question.
And for me, it's not a self-worth thing. It was because I've always been plus size, and I had to go back to the root of why I became plus size. And we go through this healing journey. It's that now I'm understanding that I have to embrace where I am. And so it's not a physical beauty that's happening. It's that radiating that self-love, that I love myself enough to show up. I love myself enough to speak up. I love myself enough to say I am worthy.
And that's advice for anyone listening. Look in that mirror, acknowledge that person in the mirror, and regardless, irrespective of flaws and imperfections, the one thing that must come from you is I am worthy. I am enough. I am good enough.
Yes.
So important. So important. All right, one last one. What is the one daily habit you swear by that keep you focused and thriving?
Put it on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it does not exist.
Put it on the calendar. And I let me take that a little bit further. And if you're not on her calendar, you're not in the game. That's what.
Even my children, I said to my son, if you have something going on, or it's something that over the thing that you need to talk to me about, you need to put it on my calendar. And then we can have a conversation. I have 3 different calendars. So you choose which calendar you want to go on. Put it on the calendar.
Put it on the calendar, right? List yourself on the calendar. All right. So finally, how can our audience, anyone, get in touch with you?
There's always tamaragammon.com. So TAMARAGAMMON.com. That has all the events that we will have. It has all of my speaking engagements. If you need to book me, you can book me there. If you have a sip and paint that you would like for me to be a part of, everything is on that website. And if you need to contact me further, it will be a link there on my website at info@3dreamdesigns.com. You can email me there. But if you go to the website, that's our primary way to contact me. Everything that you need is there. All my social medias are attached to it. So K Alexander is on there. Everything will be there. So. And
I posted it in the chat, so it's there. All right. So if you want to get in touch with Tammy for the many things that she It's not one or two or three or four, but all important things, I should add. All important things. So, Tammy, final thoughts. Anything else you want to say before we go? You know, we're running hot and overtime, but it's worth every second.
It was great being here, and I truly thank you. But live, love, and create an opportunity for yourself and give yourself grace.
Wow. Grace.
Grace.
All right. So, Tamara, I want to thank you for joining me today and sharing your incredible journey. Your insights on leadership, purpose, and resilience are inspiring, truly inspiring. Your ability to blend business, creativity, philanthropy serves as a powerful example of what it means to lead with impact. You're that leader. From overcoming challenges, and you talk about challenges earlier today in our conversation, to uplifting others, you have shown that success is not just about personal achievements, but about creating meaningful change. And you talk about being that change agent. All right. So, and to our listeners and anyone watching, let Tamara's story be a reminder to align your passion with purpose and to take bold steps towards your dreams. You know, her suggestion and advice is just do it. And so she, you know, that's what I am also suggesting that you do. Whatever it is, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't overplan it, because you can get caught up, and they call it procrastination. You know, putting it off. Just do it, get it done. And you know, so I ask that you stay inspired, stay committed, take care of yourself. Self-care is critical. And as always, keep pushing forward. Tamara, thank you again for joining me. And for everyone who tuned in today, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you so much. And with that, I'll say good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are, and goodbye wherever you are. All right.
I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I wake up in the morning and I praise the Lord. I thank Him for His protection, and I walk in His steps, declaring that today's provision